Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tuesday edition of Winners and Winers Radio. I'm your host, Scott Steehn, lead handicapper over at winnersandwiners.com.
And I'm your co-host, Scott Reichel, senior handicapper over at winnersandwiners.com.
And together, we make up a Winners and Winers Radio. Give us an hour, and we'll give you the winners. So we're getting ready to do here, Scott. How'd your day go? A lot of tennis, a little baseball action, a lot of day baseball. Mississippi, what'd you get down on, buddy?
For the most part, live betting the Mississippi game, which worked out pretty well. Ended up live betting the Rays at plus 360 in the eighth inning or so, which also worked out. Unfortunately, though, I had the Mets as my play of the day for the team total over, and they had 12 hits. Not only did they not get to 4.5 runs for the over, they didn't get to 3.5 runs for the over either. I don't know how you only score 3 runs while recording 12 hits. 1 for 10 in runner scoring position tends to do that.
Well, that's how you just answered your own question, buddy.
I know. So that if you wanted to know how to do it, that's how you do it.
Excellent. Well, we had Mighty Max Scherzer to take care of business against St. Louis. That was not a lot of sweat there. And we had the Ole Miss Rebs minus the points. I actually capped it at 10 and was on the wrong side of the number, Scott. I actually went down to 9. That's kind of unusual. But, yeah, we'll take that. All you can eat on that buffet. Kind of got hosed. My play of the day was a game, it was the Mississippi game that I capped at 43.5 team total over, and they missed that extra point on the first touchdown, and a little voice inside my head said, I wonder if that's going to come back to haunt us. And there you go, as it lands 43. In real time, that number was 42.5. Even a terrible number was 43. So, but you know what? We go with the numbers that I cap it for better or worse, and that's the number. So, yeah, it took a little bit of a hose there, but won it in real life. So, again, not really bitching.
Well, that's kind of the thing where it's tricky because both of us love to live bet, which I know is a fact. And yet the YouTube play that I ended up taking didn't work out, but I had a good day personally, and nobody cares. So
yeah,
it's really just the middle ground.
Well, it's the same way with our farm. We had the cooch, and he's a guy that's going to jump up and bite you about 1 out of every 4 starts. Now today was the day. He was dreadful. Was the cooch there for Seattle? Not good at all.
No, Houston's offense is another one of those teams that seems to just kill you every now and then, but usually scores around 4.
Yep.
Yeah, they killed.
Yep, they absolutely did. All right, well, let's get started, Scott. Let's find out who else did well, who else did poorly. We'll start it off as we always do with the people that took it in the shorts. You know what you are. You know what you got to do. Time to call the cops. All right, buddy, let's get her rolling here. First of all, we're going to take a look at that game that you mentioned earlier. This is the Boston-Tampa Bay game. Boston, big favorite here, minus 140. Scott, I kind of didn't understand that number to start with. I know it was Chris Sale on the mound, yada, yada, yada. But, and Boston been playing good ball. But, again, Tampa Bay, best team in the American League, should count for something. Anywho, Boston doing their thing, justifying that price. Got out to a 7-1 lead after 2 innings with Sale on the mound. You're thinking easy money, boys. We get Chris Sale to go about 7 innings, give up a couple runs. All will be right with the world. Not the way it worked out, my friend. 4th inning comes around, bases loaded, 2 outs. Nelson Cruz hits fly ball to center field, just tailing away. He's fighting the sun is Verdugo, and the sun won this one, Scott. He got his glove out, but it was in the wrong place. Bounced off the glove. Made the relay throw. They airmailed the relay throw over the third baseman's head, and Nelson Cruz trots home with a little league grand slam, and it went downhill from there. Tampa Bay hung close. They couldn't quite get over the hump, and then that Boston bullpen does what they did best. They gave up a run in the 8th. They gave up a run in the 9th to tie, and Tampa Bay wins this one extras 11-10. If you had Boston minus 140, holy mackerel, it's time for you to call the cops.
You also forgot to mention the inside the park game-tying home run in the 9th inning, which I believe had not happened since 2006, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, that's right. Outstanding, yeah.
So that, of course, was crazy in itself. Verdugo,
2 round trippers that didn't leave the park. I know only one of them counted.
Yeah, Verdugo had a bit of a tough time in center field yesterday. Anyway, looking at the Mets on the money line, they ended up leading 3-2 against the Nationals. Edwin Diaz came in, and I swear Diaz, I don't know how many saves he's blown this season, but I've watched all of them because every time I watch him pitch, he blows the save. I turned it on, he blew the save, and the Nationals scored 2 in the 9th and won 4-3. So if you have the Mets money line, that's a pretty tough beat.
can always tell when Scott's mad at me because I'm starting the show late because he leaves me with a tennis one. So if you had Zverev, right?
Zverev, but yeah, good enough.
Sure. And Sinner
Yep.
over 3.5 sets. Zverev won the first 2 sets. Sinner had 5 set points in the third set to take it to 2-1. That's all you need. You just need him to win 1 set, Scott. I'm going to guess because it's in the call the comp section. That's not what happened. Zverev won the third set in a tiebreaker. Absolutely brutal. Survived 5 set points just to break your heart. If you had the Zverev Sinner over 3.5 sets, sit down and call the cops.
I was going to look for another one in the Mississippi game. I chose not to do your play of the day, so I ended up giving you the common courtesy, and then you mentioned it anyway, which defeated the complete purpose of me not including it. But anyway.
He's trying to be a nice guy, and I turn it completely. No good deed goes unpunished, my friend.
But if you want to talk about tennis, though, 5 set points that's pretty brutal.
That is pretty brutal. Absolutely right. You don't have to be a tennis geek to know that's a pretty bad beat there. So, all right. Well, let's talk about the good news. These are the people that were on the right side of the equation. They had a nice, easy winner. No Boston bullpen. No 5 set point shenanigans. Just a nice, easy coast to the win because you were sitting in the rocket chair.
So the first one was between Ole Miss and Louisville. If you had Ole Miss -9, -10, hell, -20, it didn't really matter. Well, 20 mattered. 18 didn't really matter because they led by 26 at the half, won the game by 19. So if you had Ole Miss -9 in game, probably around -14, who cares? Game was over long before the start of the second half.
Loaded up. Malik Cunningham can't throw the ball. Newsflash, Scotty.
They also couldn't protect him, but I couldn't tell if that was because he just abandoned the pocket about 2 seconds after the snap every play,
right,
or if no receivers ever got open.
Yeah, it was not good. And if you had the Phillies on the money line, they were playing the Brewers. You had Woodruff on the mound. You're thinking this is going to be a pretty tough game. Woodruff, not ideal, Scott. The Phillies led 4-0 after 4 innings, and then they brought Boxberger in. And Boxberger, I know this is going to stun you, he sucked as well, and they ended up winning this one 12-zip, led 11-0 after 8 innings. It was all Phillies all the time. And if you had the Phillies on the money line there, you had no reason to sweat at all.
And the last one was the Giants on the money line or the -1.5 against the Rockies. Gausman versus Kyle Freeland, a bit of a pitching matchup. And you could tell early on that was what's going to happen because the Giants led 8-1 after 5 innings, won the game 10-5. Giants, pretty good at baseball.
Not bad. Every time you think like, well, they're going to fade now, and that's not what happened. So, yeah, very good job by the Giants, taking 2 out of 3 from the Dodgers over the weekend, and they just keep on rolling. All right, my friend. Well, you know what? Let's find out who it is because we had a couple of contenders today, but one, I believe this is a group of people, and I believe, Scott, this is the first time we've named this particular group of people to win this award. So let's find out who it is. Let's find out who's strapping on the golden feed bag today in the Tuesday edition of Donkey of the Day. You know, Scott, I've avoided it every time, and saying the Donkey of the Day really made an ass of themselves, but I'm going to let it rip today.
Okay, cool.
By the way, happy Rosh Hashanah to you and all the rest of the tribe. Are you doing anything exciting?
I had an apple today.
Is that a deal?
A lot of honey.
What?
You're supposed to eat like honey on some fruits and stuff.
Is that what you do?
Yeah, that's kind of the special thing you do.
Did you do that?
Yeah, it's symbolic of a sweet new year, something like that. I'm not even joking. You literally put.
I'm going to guess that's not accurate.
No, it is. Like that's actually why you do it. I'm not pulling your chain here. Like that's actually why you do it. You put honey on it to symbolize like the sweetness of the upcoming year. That's a thing.
Okay. And then after that, you cashed a live ticket on your no punt on the punt.
I was betting drive props in the Ole Miss game, and it worked out pretty well.
Is God happy with you about that, Scott?
My bank account is. You know, you gotta pick your battles every now and then.
Okay. All right. Good enough. If you don't want to tell them, I won't tell them. Hey, let's talk about that Louisville Ole Miss game. I was not happy, Scott, and I know you and I have a bit of a disagreement here. I was not happy with the officiating in this game at all. A couple of reasons. The first reason, 4 targeting penalties in the first half. Absolutely ridiculous. I think one of them was earned. I thought when they called it when Corral was sliding and they speared him as he's going down, I thought that was a legitimate call.
You
I
thought
thought the other
you thought there was a chance that 2 guys would have been ejected for targeting on that one play?
Yeah, I did. I thought there was a chance they were gonna ring them up, both of them up. But
I thought they got the right guy on that play, though.
they did. Well, if you're gonna see, they should have called it. It shouldn't have been either one of them. That's my point. But be that as it may, you can make the case they were calling the rules and whatever. But Scott, and I don't know if you noticed this or not if you were watching the game, there was some absolutely terrible spots of the ball. Just a couple for first downs and just some of the worst I've ever seen.
You mean the first quarter run by Cunningham where they marked him about a yard past the first down marker and he wasn't even
like
close?
2 yards past the first down marker. Yeah,
he wasn't even close.
He may or may not have got the first down, but they put him 2, and that was like the 4th one in about 5 minutes.
That was the first quarter.
That's what I'm saying. It was just a brutal game by the officials, and it seemed to be a little one-sided. It seemed to be a little pro-Louisville. Now, it didn't matter because not even the worst official in the world couldn't have given that game to Ole Miss. But I'm going to light them up, Scott. I'm giving them the golden feed bag for Donkey of the Day. I thought the officials did a rotten job. I didn't see the beginning of the game. Did you hear where are they from? What conference were they from?
No idea.
Yeah, I didn't recognize them.
I'm going to guess the Big 12.
See, I didn't recognize him as a Big 12 official. He certainly could have been new or somebody that I missed, but I think I recognize most of the Big 12.
I don't know. I'm going to disagree with you a little bit about the targeting penalty.
I know you are.
I didn't really have many issues with the call. I have issues with the ejections involved with the call, but that's the rule of the game, which I think they need to change. I just think 15 yards is a big enough penalty. Don't ruin the kid's entire afternoon and his impact on the team because of one play where it's a little bit of a gray area. Plus, have you ever called targeting on the offense?
See, we were talking about that because the rule is in place in both the NFL and college that neither side can lower their head and lead with the crown of their helmet.
And even if you've actually, just to interrupt, I know where you're going with this, but in the comment section down below, if you're watching this on YouTube, let me know if you've ever seen an offensive player get ejected for targeting.
Right.
Not including an interception return. I mean, on an actual offensive play, have you ever seen an offensive player get ejected? I have not seen it.
The ball carrier, receiver,
receiver,
running back.
Yeah, have you ever seen the ball carrier get ejected for lowering his head before contact?
Yeah, great. I told you I've seen it called one time. I saw it called in the NFL, and of course in the NFL it's just a 15-yard penalty. It's not an ejection. But my point is, Scott, that this rule set out to solve a problem. It set out to solve a problem mainly of defenseless receivers getting absolutely lit up on crossing patterns over the middle by the safeties. They have solved that problem. That doesn't happen anymore. It does happen every once in a while, and then they call it. But for the most part, you would see 1 or 2 of those hits a game. You don't see it. You might see one over a weekend now. So they have solved the problem, and now they've gone, as a lot of times rules do, they've gone too far the other direction. My theory is there should be no targeting called within 5 to 7 yards of the line of scrimmage on the defensive side of the ball. When you've got linebackers, when you've got safeties that are crashing in against a running back, both those teams are going to lower their heads. We talked about it before. You cannot, as a football player, you instinctually dip your head at the last minute. You are not going face first into contact. You just can't do it. This is ridiculous. It needs to stop.
It also goes back to my point where I said I don't remember them calling targeting on an offensive player. If the offensive guy is going to lower his helmet and the defensive player is not allowed to,
right? How
are you supposed to make a tackle?
Correct. You're gonna protect yourself. That's the instinct. You can't train that out of somebody. I'm sorry. You can't do it. It's 10-ply. This whole generation's 10-ply, Scott.
I think that the targeting penalties that were called were okay based on the rule. I have an issue with kind of the rule itself, but to agree with you on one point, the spotting of the ball during the entire game was an absolute disaster.
Horrible.
Terrible.
How do you miss it that badly consistently?
And the Cunningham one would have been a fourth down play.
Yeah. No, I'm not disputing that he got the first down. It was really close. It looked like he got past there. But
the point I'm trying to say is that if you mark him a little bit short, that's a big 3rd and 15. You can't be afford to be off by a yard or two.
Oh, yeah. If they're off 2 yards the other way, that's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely right. So, all right, quick reminder, everybody, you are listening to Winners and Winers Radio. Give us an hour, and we'll give you all of our terrible opinions. No, we'll give you the winners. We'll give you all of our hot takes. If you're watching on the YouTube, tell us what you think about the targeting. Are we getting soft? Do we need to go back just a little bit? Can we dial it back? I don't need to see any kid put in the hospital. I get it. I'm not advocating we go back to the days of just unlimited shots, Jack Tatum style over the middle. But I think we've solved the problem. Let's kind of dial it back. That's all I'm saying. All right, so Scott, we had a new segment that we premiered yesterday, and we said we probably weren't going to do it every day. We're mainly going to be for the weekend with the football games, things like that. But one stood out that we had to include it today. It's time for our newest segment. This is called not mad, I'm just disappointed. Scott. Wow, we went along there. Mm-hmm. Scott, who is it? What are you disappointed about today?
We're going to be sticking with the Louisville Ole Miss game, and it's going to be Louisville because you had an entire offseason to prepare for the first game against a team that gave up around 38 points per game last year. And Louisville came out in the first half and scored nada. They scored 0 points in 30 minutes.
Nothing.
Ole Miss's defense. Now, you can make an argument the defense has improved. Maybe. I don't care.
They're not the 2000 Ravens.
You had several months to prepare for this matchup. They barely had 100 yards. I don't even know if they had 100 yards in the first half.
That's a great question. Awful. Yeah, they were dreadful.
And what were you working on during the offseason leading up to this game? I have no idea.
And they figured out, Cunningham was able to do a read option a couple times and keep it around the end for nice gainers. They figured that out. Ole Miss put a kid in there that would finally stay home, and then that was their offense. That was pretty much done until they softened up there late in the game and let them dink and dunk it down the field.
Did you also enjoy how Cunningham had like 2 separate runs that were about 40 yards, and then it was called back for holding both times, and he's just chucking the ball at the official?
Yeah, there's no penalty there.
Yeah, definitely not a great offensive game plan by Louisville.
All right, yeah, and it was very disappointing. Like I said, we were on the right side of it, so it wasn't disappointing to us. But if you're a fan of good quality football games, you were disappointed.
Or if you had over 75.5.
If you had the over, if you had Louisville, yeah, there's a lot of disappointed people. I had no desire to play that over, Scott. I just didn't. I was worried exactly what would happen is what happened. I would worry that Louisville would be out of sync, trying to plug in a lot of new guys, and they just wouldn't be able to get anything going offensively. I didn't think they'd be that bad.
Yeah,
I didn't think they put up 0 in either half, but I thought they might come in a little short. I kind of thought it'd be somewhere in this low 60s.
Yeah, that's fair.
So anyway, let's find out who was drunk yesterday. There was a couple of contenders for this one as well. I think you've identified a fine one, and we're going to go with it. Let's find out how drunk were those odds makers. This is your team, buddy. This is the New York Yankees. They made that big push. They won. What they won? 11 in a row, 13 in a row,
13.
And now they've lost 9 of 11 since.
They've lost. I believe it's 7 of 9.
7 of 9. Brutal stretch. The Yankees today didn't matter. They're favorites, Scott, against the Blue Jays. Blue Jays playing good baseball right now. Yankees not playing good baseball. Oh yeah, you wrote it down right there. All I had to do was listen. Just read a little bit ahead. Yeah, Yankees had lost 6 of 8 coming into that. Toronto, well, like I said, they're hot. They won 7 of their last 8. Yankees, minus 135 favorite. I'm sorry, what now? Yeah, Yankees, minus 135 favorite. Scott, how'd that end up?
Yankees lost 8-0. Worth mentioning going into that game, Ryu had faced the Yankees 3 times this season, and his ERA was around 3. The Yankees can't touch him. It didn't make any sense. Toronto killed him.
Don't get it. Don't get it at all. That was just, I don't know. That was, again, there was just some easy money out there today in baseball, and you're gonna see that. You gotta pick your spots, but there's some money to be made here closing out the baseball season. All right, Scott. So as you know, the U.S. Open's going on. Are you going? Have you gone yet?
I have not gone. I'm not
Are you
going
gonna
this
go?
year.
You're not going?
I'm not going this year.
What are you doing?
Not going.
Why not?
Busy prepping for the show, right?
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
It's really about, the attention to detail for the craft, right?
Yeah, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
I'm not buying it for a second.
These drive props aren't going to bet themselves. I mean, come on, I can't go to this thing.
You're out there just gorging yourself on apples and honey.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is this actually was New Year's Eve, Monday night?
It's actually a multi-day event.
What?
It's a multi-day holiday.
It's a multi-day holiday.
Yeah, it's a multi-day New Year.
Isn't there an actual New Year's Day and New Year's Eve?
Correct, except for Jewish calendar purposes, you have day 1 and day 2. We like to party, okay? We like to party. I don't know.
Are you like those 35-year-old people that do? It's my birthday week.
It's one thing about Jewish holidays. If you really want to be just discuss it quickly.
Go down the rabbit hole.
No, I was going to the rabbit hole. I was going to say you can probably push together most holidays into like 2 days or like 1 day, but we just extrapolated a little bit because why not?
Okay, well, sure, why not? More days off from work. All right, fine. Well, so is that then tonight, Tuesday night?
Basically, it's the New Year's already happened, but you're having a second day to it.
Wow, I'm sure your Hebrew school headmaster would be delighted by the brilliant recitation you've given of the Jewish New Year.
I'm doing the best I can, man.
D's get degrees.
It was
buddy.
the first night. You have 2 days, and then it ends on later on this week.
Okay, well, keep us posted, would you? Is there going to be a night where you go out and get hammered?
Potentially, we'll see.
Okay, is that a thing? Do the Jews get hammered on the whatever New Year's Eve they pick?
I thought that was a human being thing.
Getting hammered on New Year's? Well, I didn't know if it was any different.
No, we celebrate.
Okay, we'll break the Manischewitz and go to it.
Something like that.
All right, fair enough. So, Scott, we're talking about this whole thing was brought up by the U.S. Open, which is actually going to be relevant to what I talked about. Shelby Rogers had a big victory the other day against the number 1 seed. Who was that, Scott?
Barty.
There you go. Ashley Barty from Australia, right?
Wait,
she was the number 2 seed.
Yeah.
Barty's
the one who lost to Rogers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's where I'm going. Okay, so big victory. She's on top of the world. So then the next round, Scott, she loses to I'm going to take a shot at it here. Emma Raducanu.
Yeah, sure.
Is that it?
Sure.
You don't know?
Not really. Sure.
You follow tennis. Oh my God, I was looking at you.
I follow tennis, but I didn't really pay much attention to this match.
Okay, so she loses to Raducanu in the corners in the quarters, and in her interview, she said now she has to look forward to 9 million death threats on social media. And a couple of the other players chimed in and said, "Yeah, that's absolutely a thing. It's disgusting." So let me ask you, as a social media Scott, you're part of the social media generation. What are we doing here? What the hell?
Well, I don't know from personal experience involving death threats because I never lost a tennis match professionally, but I feel like that's an exaggeration. I don't know if that's a hot take or not, but
only a couple 100,000 death threats? I mean,
I was going to say, I don't know who would be sending death threats to a tennis player after losing a match unless the gambling community is a pretty intense community. Maybe somebody who had money and lost it on Rogers, but I don't know who.
I totally disagree with that take, by the way.
Which one?
That it's a gambler.
I'm trying to think of who would be sending her death threats. I don't know who would be doing that.
Idiots, gamblers, Scott. If you're betting on tennis, for starters, you're probably a pretty sharp gambler. Okay, you're not the average schmo betting on the NFL games.
I'm just saying, if you're going to be sending somebody death threats, maybe I'm just assuming that individual has to have some type of skin in the game or some reason to criticize the player to such a degree, which is why I'm assuming that some gamblers might have been involved in the amount of death threats. But No offense, I don't think many, even Americans, have any idea who she is.
No, I agree. But, I mean, if you follow tennis, I mean, I think you've got some.
I think if you asked a casual tennis fan who Shelby Rogers is, a decent amount of people would have no idea.
Did you see what happened when Osaka, right?
Osaka's also the number one player in the world.
Did you see the social media backlash about her?
Of course. But what does that have to do with her losing?
What?
What does that have to do with Shelby Rogers losing?
It has to do with the vitriol in the animus that's out there on Twitter that these cowards hide behind under anonymous avatars and monikers and feel free to just spew whatever sort of filth that they want to with no repercussions whatsoever.
I understand that point. I'm just saying people criticize Osaka because of how she handled the media and stuff like that. It had nothing to do with losing a tennis match.
It's not, but it wasn't just criticizing, Scott. It went beyond
that. I get it. I'm saying it was very excessive, and I agree with you on that point. I'm just not equating Rogers losing a tennis match to Osaka and how she ended up using mental health, and a lot of people, I guess, don't fully understand the importance of mental health, which is why they ended up cursing around in the first place.
Right.
I just think that it's a false equivalency.
Ironically, people who are having their own struggles with mental health, obviously.
I think that it's a false equivalency because, A, Osaka is a well-known player worldwide, and I don't think most people know who Shelby Rogers is. B, is the fact that the Shelby Rogers thing had to do with losing a tennis match where there weren't any other factors. She just got destroyed from start to finish, and Osaka was how she handled the media, and then she ended up quitting in the middle of the tournament. So I think that there are different factors there. I think that everyone who told Osaka to kill herself is an idiot, and I think that they should be, I don't want to say brought to justice, but there should be some type of legal repercussions for that. I just don't agree with comparing what happened to Osaka to what happened to Rogers in the situation. I think it's a false equivalency.
So you're saying one of them deserved it?
No, what I'm saying is that I think that just because the thing happened to Osaka doesn't mean that Shelby Rogers is going to have to deal with all these death threats because she lost a tennis match. I don't see the connection between the two of them.
Okay.
I just don't see it.
I think Twitter at its worst. I didn't
say that there are good people on Twitter.
Horrid place.
That's fair. I'm just saying that the 9 million death threats thing, you lost a tennis match, I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Are you saying she'll get none?
I'm saying that I don't think she's going to get anywhere near the amount that Osaka got, and it's not even close.
How many is okay?
Of course, none of them are okay, but what I'm trying to say is that I believe, I don't know if you want to put a number to it.
No, I do want to put a number. That number's 0.
If Rogers got anywhere near 5% of what Osaka got.
Okay.
Which of course is still not good, but the 9 million parts, okay. I don't think most people know who you are.
You have staked out an odd position on the hill to die on, my friend.
I have, because I think that she's extreme. I think she's exaggerating, in my honest opinion. I understand that death threats, of course, have no place in the sports industry, and how Twitter is a place where people can hide, and I agree with you on all those points. I just think it sounds very excessive. That's how I'm looking at it.
Okay. So you'd have felt better if she just said like a couple 100,000.
I think if she just said some, I think 9 million makes it sound like everybody hates her, and I don't think anybody knows who she is.
Okay, so if the quote would have been, I'm not looking forward to having to deal with the death threats on social media, would that be a problem for you?
I'm fine with that. I just feel like she's making it sound like everybody on social media is out to get her, and I just don't really buy that stance.
Okay.
You don't think 9 million sounds a little bit absurd? That sounds like nobody's going to come to her support on social media.
Well, somebody, I mean, it's an exact, you do that, Scott. We've done it ourselves on the show. The kicker missed the field goal for the 100,000th time in a row. We've all done it. We've all made exaggerated numbers to make a point.
It's fair. I'm just saying, unless she has personal experience, which I'm assuming she does from getting these death threats, I just can't fully grasp why people would do that for losing a tennis match in the first place, because it's a game. Like, there are more important things to worry about than...
I totally get that. No, I mean, I wouldn't even consider... Scott, if I had a 5-figure bet on a tennis player and they lost, I wouldn't even consider lighting them up on social media.
I wouldn't.
No, I mean, or maybe way to chunk that serve, or could you not hit one into the net? But I can't believe you cost me this money. I'm going to kill you and your whole family. So
I think that some of those people existed, which took me back to my main point. I don't know why anybody else would talk about threatening to kill her unless they had some type of personal interest in the game, and the most common personal interest is money.
All right. Well, we'll be back for more of this fun right after this message. Stay tuned, guys.
I don't think what I said was
really?
that bad.
What?
I don't think what I said was that bad. It looked like I said something wrong. I don't think I said anything wrong. I think the majority of people don't know who she is.
That bitch needs to toughen up.
I'm just saying,
she's not famous enough to get death threats.
You equated it to Osaka. There were completely different variables in that situation.
We're back. All right, everybody, welcome back to the second half of Winners and Winers Radio. Give us an hour, and we'll give you our unhinged rants. We'll give you the winners. No, it was fine. No, I'm not saying you're ranting. I'm just, that was very rant-worthy to me. So
I wasn't promoting the type of behavior. I'm just saying it sounds a bit excessive.
Well, let's see if you'll defend the next guy. So the Houston Texans made a big announcement yesterday rather. Tyrod Taylor going to be starting. Deshaun Watson, he's on the roster, but he's not going to play. He's not going to be active. Is this weird considering that he hasn't been disciplined by the league or the team? Is this the right thing to do with him?
Well, this is what we said was going to happen months ago because it's a PR nightmare if he plays.
Right.
And hypothetically, if you wanted to get away with it, you probably could because you're not going to actually find out the legal repercussions of his actions until after the season. So if you wanted to, you hypothetically could play Watson. I'm not surprised. It's a PR nightmare. You knew that they weren't going to use Watson at all, which is why I'm not sure. He only showed up at practice so he wouldn't get fined, right?
Yeah, right. He had to be at practice.
So that's the only reason why he showed up. So I'm not surprised by any of this. You?
I guess not.
What else are you supposed to do?
That's the thing. What you say, well, I don't agree with it. Well, what the hell else do you do with him? You can't cut him.
Houston tried trading him. I don't know what they were asking for, but they tried to.
Well, what's he worth?
According to the Texans, way too much.
No, what's his real value right now? A guy that will never take another snap in the NFL.
Not knowing the future, 1 first-round pick.
No, see, I think
that could be too high, but I think the upside with how talented he is, if you think there's any chance that he can play a down within the next 2-3 years, I think one team would take that gamble. I think one team would do it.
In fairness, I don't think you're realizing the size of check Mr. Millen wrote.
I'm aware that it's a lot of allegations, and I don't think he's going to fully get away with it unscathed. But if you believe in the innocent until proven guilty,
he should be playing.
Quote, then it would make sense for a team to trade a first-round pick for him if you think that there's a chance that he's innocent.
Okay, so let me throw this out there. Yeah, and see, that's what should be, if you're Deshaun Watson or a Deshaun Watson backer, that's what should worry you, because every team that would consider trading for him did their due diligence on the allegations, the cases, and nobody made an offer. Nobody
don't know what Houston was asking for, though.
That's right. And from all accounts, they've asked for a lot.
So that's why the only thing I find interesting, it's not even about who offered. If you actually, I'm assuming the teams that even called Houston, like Miami and Philly, did some form of research, don't you think?
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
It wasn't even about a trade happening. The fact that they even called in the first place kind of proves my point, doesn't it?
Well, you know what? I don't know. I think
if I was a GM, I wouldn't go anywhere near him. But the point is that since the people called up and asked, then clearly he has some value on the market, doesn't he?
Let me ask you this. Does it matter that Houston isn't a contender? Let's say, for example, it was Patrick Mahomes. Now,
I think there would be a bigger incentive to hypothetically just bench him for the whole year if you're not competing for anything.
That's what I'm saying. But if you're the Chiefs and Mahomes is in this position, no charges, no discipline from the NFL, Did they play him?
I've made the argument about other players being in the league who shouldn't be. And one of those people is probably Tyreek Hill. So, yeah, I could see them holding on to Patrick Mahomes. I don't think Tyreek Hill should be in the league. I think that what he did back in college should have made him undraftable, but people look past it. He's a great receiver, and they won a Super Bowl because of it.
And you might mention he's kept his nose completely clean since then.
Yes, he has.
And it's come out since then that she's nuts.
That is potentially true, but it also depends if you believe that he punched a pregnant woman. But that's a separate story.
He has custody of that child.
The point I'm not going to go into the details about Tyreek Hill. The point I'm trying to say is that just because a lot of people are good at football, there are a lot of really bad people in the NFL.
There are. There was the lineman that killed somebody in a car wreck.
Yes,
and he played again.
You had that. You had a lot of different situations. So people can argue about the moral high ground and why teams shouldn't go for certain players. The moral high ground rarely, if ever, exists in the NFL. So I am not surprised that teams are still calling to ask about Deshaun Watson.
Okay, fair enough. No, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
Greg Hardy shouldn't have been playing again. He went to Jerry World.
Yeah, that was nuts.
There's been a lot of really, really bad stuff involving players, and nobody seems to really care, which is a problem. But that's just the reality of the situation.
Really, really big check.
Yeah.
So, Scott, the Randy Edsall era is completely done at UConn. He a day after he announced that he was going to just kind of play out the string and retire at the end of the season, he reached a mutual agreement with the university that perhaps that retirement should start, I don't know, now. So he's out. My theory on this is he was asked to leave. Yourself, what do you think?
I think he sat down, said on Sunday, I'm done after the season. And then the UConn AD realized, wait a second, you lost to Holy Cross? And then they immediately got rid of him. You?
I think that's true. Because I think if it would have been something different, he would have said, after I've reevaluated, I've decided to step down immediately. That wasn't the statement that was released. It was, we have reached a mutual decision. We have reached a decision that will be mutually beneficial to both parties. So, what a mess. How far that program has fallen, Scott. You know, they were in the Big East. They were in the Orange Bowl. 2010. Just over 10 short years ago, my friend.
I don't remember if it was the Orange or the Fiesta, but they were in a
Fiesta Bowl. I'm sorry. You're correct. They were in the Fiesta Bowl.
Well, that's also a huge reason why Rutgers fell apart and why some of these other of course, Rutgers is trying to rebuild now, and they're trying to do their own thing in the Big Ten. There were a lot of Big East teams there, even Syracuse. They were pretty good at football. And then once the conference completely dissolved for college football and they all joined different conferences, they completely fell apart.
Didn't work out too well for Rutgers in the Big Ten, did it?
Not quite. Or for Syracuse in the ACC.
This is their year, though.
Sure. This
is Rutgers' year, buddy. All right. Well, Godspeed, Randy Edsall. We'll pour one out for you. Is that because Scott? Could you and I have done that? When you look at his record at UConn, could we have done that if we were co-head coaches?
I think worst case scenario, we would have had a bunch of losses, but so did this guy. So I don't think we could have done much worse.
What was the last game they won?
It's a great question.
Because Akron beat them. Didn't they play Akron? Or was that UMass?
Akron beat Bowling Green.
Okay.
But I'm
trying to
remember who.
One of those terrible teams from the East played one of the terrible matches.
I have no idea, but the point is UConn, that team's awful. They're awful every single year. If you want to say that you wanted to have a head coaching job somewhere and you get paid a bunch of money, no matter how badly you did, I think UConn's probably the place for you.
You knew he had to be making bank.
You can be awful. Well, he was also making bank because he was successful the first time around. So they definitely overpaid for him the second time around, even though he was a disaster in Maryland.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I'm just looking here. Okay, so UConn's last victory was in 2018. Who'd they beat, Scott? They beat UMass.
Okay.
The only team, arguably.
Wait a second. Wasn't that a very high-scoring game, like 56 to like 35 or something?
It was 56-35. Are you looking it up?
Actually, no, I swear.
Okay, that's just.
I swear I'm not looking up anything. That just really seems familiar.
You're just an idiot savant. My God. Oh, I'm sorry. That same season, Scott, they opened the year with a 3-point victory over Wagner.
You mentioned that, and I have no idea why I knew that, but 56-35 was just in my head about them beating UMass. I remember that for some reason.
You're just a freak.
I remember that for some reason. I don't know why. I might have been watching that game in college. I just remember that for some reason. Maybe I had the over. I don't know. I might have had something on that game.
Trying to think. There's something that got pushed out of your brain because you know that. There's something.
Of course, there's something that's important. Social security number, something. It went right out the window, but instead I got the UConn UMass score from 2018.
All right. Hey, what did we learn about that game last night, Scott? What did we learn about those teams?
I learned that UMass, as good as we thought they were,
UMass.
Louisville, I didn't think was going to be good. I thought they might win 6 games.
Yeah.
They might win 4.
Was their win total 5.5? 6.5?
Something like that. I don't think they're getting there. I think that you can make an argument Ole Miss is just good, so you can throw it in the garbage. But if you have a quarterback who can't throw the ball, what are we doing here? They can't throw. I don't know how else I'm supposed to examine this team.
Wasn't ideal, was it?
It was bad. There's no other way to put it. Cunningham had a couple of really garbage time drives at the end to pad his passing yards, but he had, 25 passing yards in the first half? Come on. You got to throw the ball more than 5 yards.
No, I think he had less than 10. If I remember right. I remember seeing the stat early in the second half.
Could be, but the point is that he averaged about 5 yards an attempt. So he was basically Cam Newton out there. Can you throw the ball downfield a little bit? Try something?
Yeah. I know. Soften up the defense. Do anything. My God.
A play-action pass never killed anybody, by the way.
No kidding. All right. So, Ole Miss, pretender or contender, Scott?
For what? The SEC?
Yeah.
Pretender.
Okay.
I'm not beating Bama.
No? Okay. How about what's the line in that? What's the line in that game going to be, and what's the final score?
Is it in Tuscaloosa?
It is not. It's in Oxford.
Bama's at least favored by 2 touchdowns, bare minimum. I think there's a good chance it's over 3. I'll go 23.5.
Okay. And is that in Bama cover?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Bama kills this team.
Okay. All right. We'll see.
We were going into the game talking about how Louisville's defense had a bunch of inexperienced guys and how whatever.
Yeah, I don't. That was going to be my point. I don't know that we've learned. I think we've learned a little bit that the Ole Miss defense is going to be better.
Now, Ole Miss, of course, kept Alabama on the ropes last year, and that game was very close, and I get that.
Put up 48 points on them, by the way.
They did. I acknowledge that, but this Bama team this year, I don't know how good Miami is. They dominated. That Bama's defense last year, I didn't think was very good.
Right.
Their defense this year could be loaded.
Yeah, I think it's better than last season. And last season, one of those they didn't really stand out as far as the eye test go. But when you look at the stats, they were a good defense.
Yeah.
But yeah, they have a chance to be truly elite this season.
Mm-hmm.
So Ole Miss goes to Austin Peay, Tulane. So you're going to be 3-0. They go to Bama, or they entertain Bama. So the games, let's say they lose to Bama, of course, but the games I'm kind of interested in is 3 of them on the schedule: LSU, Texas A&M, and Liberty. I think that's going to make or break their season.
Well, you're saying that they're a potential contender. If they're in the same section as Bama and they lose to Bama, then they might as well.
No, I understand it. No, I just mean for a let's call it a New Year's 6 game. How about that?
I think that their ceiling 9 or 10 wins.
Okay.
I think they'll finish with 8.
All right. So they go in with 3. They beat Arkansas, Tennessee, Vanderbilt. Okay. All right. I want to see more. I want to see more. You know, I'm always a sucker for teams that have a killer one side of the ball or the other, and I like this Mississippi offense a lot.
I think they'll lose to Bama. I think they'll lose to A&M. Do they play Georgia?
They have to. They're in the. No, they're in the other division. No, they don't play Georgia this year.
Okay, so I think that at some point they're going to get upset because I still don't fully buy the defense. They beat a team whose quarterback can't throw. I'll pump the brakes on the improvement factor. Okay. But I think they'll win 8 to 9 games.
All right, and I lied. They do go to Tuscaloosa. I read the schedule wrong. They do go to Tuscaloosa. So
Bama's covering that 23 now.
Okay, good enough. All right, guys. Quick reminder that you are listening to Winners and Winers Radio. Give us an hour, and we'll give you the winners. Well, Scott, we got spoiled a little bit there, buddy. What do we have? 5 straight days of football: Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Yeah, 5 straight days of football, and now there is no more until Thursday. So now we have to go back to the diamond, my friend. Let's take a look and see what we've got cooked up for tomorrow. We've got, again, Tuesday, always a fun slate because you've got every game on the board and they're all night games. Earliest game is the Mets and the Miami Marlins going at it there at 5:40 Central Time, 6:40 Eastern Time. And you know what? Speaking of that game, Scott, Mets and Carrasco opened up at -155. Mets money has come in. They're now up to about -166 or so. Am I crazy here? Why are we betting on the Mets?
Have you seen the Marlins lately?
Yeah, I know they're not good, and Cabrera's leaves a little bit to be
He's a
desired.
youngster. He's got some stuff, but he's a youngster. I'm not really sure if he's going to put it all together this season or maybe a season or two down the road. Carrasco has been awful in the first inning of games, but he's been pretty good after the first inning. But of course, that doesn't affect the ERA. It all counts the same. But the Marlins, this team can't hit. We already know that. The Mets did lose to the Nationals. They were playing better. I mean, yesterday they lost to the Nationals. They were playing better over the last week or two. I'm just going through the line here for Miami. And you can make an argument maybe if you want to take them on the money line. I'm just passing. This Miami team can't hit.
Okay. All right. Well, they're 6-4 with their last 10. Problem with the Marlins, though, man, if they're not scoring 7 or 10, they're not scoring nothing.
Right.
3 is about what you're going to get there. So, yeah, Carrasco seems to be getting a little bit better, and I was just curious to get your take there. I wasn't really leaning one side or the other. The Mets have been playing such dreadful baseball lately that I was just thinking about taking a little underdog shot there on the Miami Marlins. And
I don't hate a shot there. I just think the Mets are going to win the game.
Okay. Yeah, Espino versus Fried. Washington Nats against Atlanta. Atlanta -210, and it has been all Braves money coming in at this point. Now up to -225, 235, depending on where you go. Max Fried, pretty good pitcher, throwing the ball really well right now. Scott, any reason to take a sniff at Washington here?
No, I like Braves run line. Fried's been great. Espino's been hit or miss, but usually miss, and we know the Nationals bullpen stinks. Braves suddenly in a bit of a dogfight there in the NL East because the Phillies have been winning some games. The Mets have been winning some games. Braves kind of need to dominate the series, and I think they're going to rise to the occasion.
Okay, maybe a little Braves team total juice 5.5, something like that.
Yeah, potentially.
Now, here's an intriguing matchup. You talk about the Phillies, Scott, and they're squaring off in game 2 of the series against Milwaukee. Milwaukee pretty much has the Central salted away, everything but mathematically put away at this point. Aaron Nola goes for Philly against Eric Lauer for the Brew Crew. Brewers opened up -104. Scott, it is completely flipped, I'm guessing, based on the results of yesterday's game. And now you're going to pay -115 or so to back the Phillies. Do you agree with the line move here?
I kind of do. I think that Nola is the better pitcher in this spot. Of course, people are going to overreact to the Phillies dominating yesterday because they won 12-0. But what do you think here? Because the Phillies have still been hitting the ball well lately, and Nola has been hit or miss, but we know his upside's a lot higher than Lauer. I don't mind Philly here, but I like Philly first 5.
Yeah, Nola's kind of been pitching in a bit of hard luck lately. He's given up just 3 earned runs over his last 2 starts, 11 2/3 innings. He's gotten saddled with 2 losses in that. But before there, he'd won 3 straight. I don't hate this, Scott. I think the line is probably pretty sharp. If the money keeps coming in on Philly, if I can get the Brewers +120 or better, that's a play for me. Anything less than that, it's a pass.
Okay. I think once again, though, if you're taking the Brewers, it's full game because Philly's bullpen's a disaster.
Yes.
But I'll go with Nola against Lauer straight up.
Fair enough. I can certainly understand the sentiment behind that. What do you got? In case we don't get to them all, I want to make sure that we hit some that you like. What do you got picked out?
I'm looking at the over 8 between Gallen and Howard. Spencer Howard's been awful. And even when Texas acquired him and he was viewed as a top pitching prospect, I don't want to compare him to Luzardo, but it's the same idea of how valuable potential actually is, because he's allegedly talented, but every time I watch him pitch, he's terrible. And Howard's been awful for what, 2 years, 2.5 years?
Yeah, not good.
Are we sure he's just not any good?
I think it's certainly possible. At some point, you've got to cut bait, right?
There's nothing wrong with it, with saying that, because you have so many draft picks who are first rounders and a lot of MLB draft picks don't pan out. I don't think Howard's good enough to be in the majors, and you have a total of 8. I like Gallen as a pitcher, but this year hasn't been very good. Why is his total at 8?
He's been very good lately.
He's been very good lately, which is true. But I'm saying as a whole, he has not been as consistent as he was in the past.
Well, I'll tell you why. Well, for starters, and I was going to ask you about this line move. It opened at 8.5. It's now down to 8, Scott.
I'm just saying, do you trust either bullpen in this spot?
No.
Are we sure Howard's going to go 5 innings?
No, I do like.
So I'm looking at the over.
I do like the possible. Well, I'm just not sure Texas is going to help out at all.
That's fair. You can go with Arizona team total, and that's a fair point too. But a total of 8. I mean, I need better pitchers or more consistent pitchers to have a number like that.
Yeah,
I think that's ridiculous. I think Arizona could score 6, and you're in good shape.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. I think that's although counting on anything out of Texas offense,
I'm just saying, unless Gallen goes 7, then you have about 3-4 innings to work with against Arizona's bullpen. I think Texas can get a few runs there.
Okay, all right. I like your optimism, and I do like that pitch, because that Howard has been dreadful.
He's awful,
and he's been even worse his last 3. You're talking about a 9+ ERA. So, well, how about my Kansas City Royals, Scott? Jackson Kowar back to give it another shot, going up against, I don't know, whatever unnamed Wells.
Allegedly Wells, but we'll see.
A Wells. Both of these pitchers, Scott, kind of an anomaly. They both have 9.00 ERAs as starters. Is this just an autoplay on the over here, bud?
I thought the over should have been a play yesterday, and the game ended 3-2. So I'm not really sure what happened there. Kowar, we've talked about before. He's very good in AAA. He was awful in his first stint in the majors. He could be a 4A guy. I'm not sure yet. We're going to have to wait and see. Wells, I've seen pitch. His stuff isn't very dynamic. He pitches a little bit to contact. I think you could have a lot of runs here. If you want to go for a prop, I don't hate a Salvador Perez home run against a lefty in Camden.
Oh, I like the way you're thinking there, buddy. You're probably going to pay minus on that, I would think.
For what?
Minus 110 or so
for Perez.
Yeah.
No, it's easily plus 230, plus 250.
For
a home run by a given player, 100%. It's guaranteed to be in the 200s, or 300s.
No,
I'm telling you, if you think it's a minus, you are not familiar with the home run betting market.
I'm just saying, there's nobody in Major League Baseball is hotter than Sal Perez right now.
That's correct, and I'm telling you, you're going to find that price somewhere in the 200s or 300s. Okay. Probably 200s.
Well, then that's got to be a play, because
no chance to
200. You're saying he's going to hit a home run once out of every 3 games to break even. That's absolutely going to happen for the rest of the season.
I'm saying that if you can find it somewhere in the 220 range, anywhere upward, I would take it.
Yeah, I agree. If you're getting plus 2 on that, that's a fine play. I'm just looking at trying to check the wind here and see what we've got going on in Baltimore. I know it's going to be a warm day. Wind's not going to be a factor, but you
still Camden.
You do have a hot day. It's going to be blowing out about 5 miles an hour. It's not going to hurt you. It's going to be mid-80s. Oh yeah, so Perez is cranking one out there. I would play Perez at plus 200 or better every game in the series. Hit a home run.
Okay, that's fair.
I like that very much. All right, my friend. Well, we've just about reached that point. Got anything else? Anything else that catches your attention there?
I am tempted by Toronto plus 1.5 against the Yankees. I know that Cole's on the mound. He's been great. I know Matz has been inconsistent. I can't lay I get Cole's on the mound and all. The Yankees are falling apart. Toronto's been rolling. Are we sure that they can't keep this game close?
Agreed. And Cole has been pitching very well. Like I said, he is also, I want to say he's top 5 in run support. He's been getting a ton of runs from the Yankees. So I don't hate that. And this is a Toronto team that's won 7 of 8.
I'm just saying I can't lay that number with the Yankees. I can't do it.
Fair enough. All right, good enough. All right, guys. Well, man, we've ripped through it. We have reached the end of the road here for this show. Just one thing left to do, Everybody, you know the drill. Get those overalls up. Strap them on. You can even leave one strap hanging. I don't care. It's Tuesday. Let stuff go. Climb up on board that tractor. Fire up the John Deere, kids, because it's time once again for Bet the Farm.
So for the farm play, we're going to be looking at baseball and a matchup between the Giants and the Rockies. And we like the Giants team total over 6.5 at -120 on BetMGM. Chichi Gonzalez on the mound for the Rockies. Last 5 outings, 16 2/3 innings pitched, 17 earned runs. And it's in Coors Field, which means you're going to have a lot of home runs. And the Giants specialize in home runs. The Giants are averaging 1.68 home runs per road game, which is the most in the entire league. So the Giants should go long a couple of times against Gonzalez. They went long a couple of times yesterday en route to 10 runs. And we know if Chichi's going to go a short distance because of the fact that's what's happened since he came back from COVID. The Rockies bullpen, one of the worst in the league with Coors, guaranteed 9 at-bats. And also for a trend, the over is 6-0 in the last 6 meetings in Colorado. So if you're expecting a lot of runs based on how these teams have faced off against each other, we think the Giants should score at least 7 in this spot.
Yep, we totally agree on this one. Like you said, Chichi Gonzalez has really struggled. He was struggling before he got hit by COVID, and he's really struggled afterwards. And like you said, it's really zapped his strength. And I was reading an article about him today, and he said, the part that hurt him the most, he had a pretty rough go of it for about a week with COVID, but the part that hurt him the most was absolutely doing no physical activity for about 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. And it's really put him behind as far as his pitch count and his stamina and everything like that goes. So yeah, then you get the Colorado bullpen involved, and that's just chef kiss, the cherry on top. So we do like the San Francisco Giants team total over 6.5 as our Bet the Farm play, and that will do it for this edition of Winners and Winers Radio. As always, we appreciate you listening. We appreciate you watching on the YouTubes. However you consume us, we certainly appreciate it. Don't forget to download us on podcast format. If you're on the go and you need your quick fix of Winners and Winers Radio, we understand you should do that. You guys take care. Have a great day, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow on Winners and Winers Radio. Take care, everybody.